Dragon Ball Daima has to be one of the most interesting anime releases in recent memory. I'm sure many of you remember the hype around a Dragon Ball series announcement at the 2023 New York Comic-Con. While we couldn't be sure, it only seems logical that we'd see Super's return after Super Broly and Superhero success. But then that day came and Daima was announced. I, like many of you, was utterly baffled by this decision. I mean, not only were we not getting Super back, but it seems like we were getting GT back instead. Forget about Goku turning into a kid, this was a full-blown toddler tantrum. A baby bonanza, if you will.
All of them!
Yet, I couldn't help but be excited. The animation looked stunning. We were being introduced to an entirely new world, and it just looked like fun. So fast forward to now when the show has wrapped up, and I've got some thoughts about it. I've already made my opinions on GT and Super known, and I find those shows to be fairly disappointing. Sure, they have some great moments sprinkled in here and there, but they feel like a clear step down from Z. So now, with Toei's third attempt at a continuation, have they finally got it right? Did they finally figure out a way to continue Dragon Ball Z? Is Dragon Ball Daima good? Well, I'm here to tell you, no. Dragon Ball Daima is f***ing great. There are so many reasons why Dragon Ball Daima is great. It's honestly kind of difficult to put it all into words. For reference, this is my third draft of a script, and I'm just winging it at this point. But for those of you who haven't seen it, I'm gonna try and win you over. I've seen and shared many criticisms for GT and Super, such as Toei preying on nostalgia and having one-dimensional characters. One of the main ones you'll see, however, is how these other shows often feel directionless and chaotic in their storytelling. Well, right off the bat, Daima not only addresses these criticisms, but actively builds itself around them. This is a short 20-episode series that knows where it's going from the very beginning. It takes us on a journey full of the Dragon Ball charm that we know and love, without the frustration that GT and Super carry. As it turns out, pre-production is important. The first episode introduces us to our antagonists, King Goma, Degasu, and Whoa Mama. And I'm not gonna lie, this episode was pretty concerning. We essentially got these villains watching an admittedly beautiful looking recap of the Buu arc. So my first thought is that we're already leaning into nostalgia and how this doesn't bode well for the rest of the series. However, by the time the episode was done, I realized that wasn't the case. Not only did they show a tremendous effort in lovingly reanimating those highlighted moments, but they used them to show something that goes a long way for me in Dragon Ball storytelling: consequence. Because of the Buu arc and how it played out, Goma became king and needs to find a way to maintain his status. And this is where Daima decides to play an interesting hand. What I think turned many people off about Daima is how it didn't immediately appear like a battle-heavy emotional drama like Z was. And that's because it isn't. What struck me from the very first episode was how it felt like this was much more in line with Toriyama's original vision for Dragon Ball, an action-adventure comedy. Right from the get-go, Goma is a majorly incompetent goober with a goofy design who wishes for Goku and friends to become children instead of, I don't know, teleporting them into a black hole or something, and then completely forgets to wish for an ancient artifact that grants him otherworldly power. This is the kind of writing that is coded into Toriyama's DNA, and it's this event that sends Goku, the Supreme Kai, and a mysterious guide named Glorio on a grand tour through the demon realm. I'm sorry, but I can't help but draw connections. Goku being turned into a kid and sent off to an adventure to find the Dragon Balls, like, come on, it's right there. And honestly, I feel like it's an apt comparison. While I may poke at GT, something I noticed throughout my watch is how Daima did a yoink and twist of the Black Star Dragon Ball arc and elevated it into something that is a joy to watch. But why? What was it that Daima had going on for it that GT didn't? Then it hit me. One of the major failures of GT was that it never really took the time to stop and ask why for anything it was doing. There wasn't much in the form of reason for the locations, the scenarios, the fights. They just kind of were. Daima, on the other hand, uses these new settings and situations to add to the already engaging story and build on the world we already know. One of my favorite examples of this is the introduction of the Glind, a race of people born from trees that the Supreme Kai, his brother Degesu, and his sister Dr. Rinsu all belong to. We even find out the Supreme Kai's actual name is Nahare. I also love the explanation of how the Nameks were people from the second demon realm who left in search of a better world, leaving behind a soul Namek named Neva. As an aside, I love this old dude. Smelly ancient Namekians with godly power? I'm all here for it. All of these small things build up lore for the world of Dragon Ball while also explaining some of the questions left unanswered. This show is highly mindful of its direction and isn't interested in wasting your time. Toei managed to wow me here with their harmonious balance of exposition, comedy, and action, leading to an excellent pacing flow for each episode that has you easily hooked from one moment to the next. Part of the reason these elements work so well together is because of the new setting. I've got to say, I really love the Demon Realm as the main setting for this show. It's a nice juxtaposition because when hearing a name like the Demon Realm, you're likely thinking of a horrifying, malignant place with unknowable dangers at every corner. And, I mean, it is, but there's more to it than that. The Demon Realm is made up of 3 different areas, each containing a Dragon Ball Goku and friends need to collect to summon the Eternal Dragon and fix the mess that Goma made. But what they find there, though, is people, demons, who have been subjugated and forced to live under the tyrannical rule of Goma and the kings before him. This story changes from a simple escapade through the Demon Realm to Goku and friends becoming beacons of hope for the Demon Realm's people. This, of course, is just so fitting for Dragon Ball, as it's always shown how these heroes change people time and time again. Since I'm already on the subject, I've got to talk about these characters. It's always pretty concerning when you get some new additions to a cast of characters you're already familiar with, but man, I love these guys. Glorio has got to be my favorite addition here. I've always had a soft spot for enigmatic characters. You don't know why Glorio's there, you don't know what his motives are, but he actively helps Goku and friends to get to the Demon Realm and collect the Dragon Balls, even if Goku can't get his name right. Without spoiling anything, I honestly think he has my favorite arc in the series. He's just the right shade of gray for me to want to invest in his character. I'm also a pretty big fan of Dr. Rinsu. Not only does she have an allure of her own, no, not settle down, I didn't mean that, but she is also the creator of 2 other great characters. Before I talk about them, let me just glaze Toei up for a second because this series is so clever, man. Looking back on it now, Toei played us like a damn fiddle. Since so many of us grew up with that more grounded drama of Z, when we're told that Rinsu is making a Majin set to rival, if not possibly surpass Majin Buu, it was for sure that this being was going to be an endgame final boss type beat. So when the series reveals Majin Ku, it was hilarious. The feeling of absolute bewilderment the fanbase shared was palpable, and I loved every second of it. It then got even better when we saw him on the battlefield because all this buildup, all this hype was for a gag character. Toei, you genius bastards. You promised us a universe-wrecking Giga Chad and gave us a complete jabroni. I love it. Then I can't forget about Majin Buu. Dude turns out to be monstrously strong, but can only operate when you give him chocolate chip cookies. Seriously, this dude is the embodiment of locking in so hard that you just start tweaking. Pansy is one of the characters I would have liked to see given a bit more screen time, but her resolve to better the Demon Realm still works for this plot and helps carry it along. I've already mentioned Goma, but I really have to emphasize just how much I like this villain. He doesn't have all that much to do but scream and shout in the beginning, but by the time we reach the end, he just becomes an incredibly fun character that adds so much to the ending of this series. I've also got to shout out Shotaro Morikubo for his awesome voice acting. Great portrayal of a weird teeny cringe lord. Plus, Hibis is Hibis, and what is there not to love about Hibis? Alright, it's been taking everything in me not to talk about this stunning animation. I mean, gorgeous just doesn't cut it. Since I know there will be those among you who are still disinterested with this cast of thumb-sucking babies, let me tell you that there is an actual reason for it. It would be very easy for the hook to just be, look, baby! It's clear, however, that this was a very intentional decision that allowed the animators a lot of range and creative liberty. I mean, seriously. You just have to look at how fluid and dynamic some of these early battle scenes are. They're vibrant, bouncy, and you can tell that each scene was made with care and attention. I've got to say, this is a nice change of pace from feeling rushed or off-model like Super and GT, respectively. I think the first time I got wowed by this series was what I can only think to refer to as the burger fight.
What's this? Your food. What's this? Your food. What's this?
Now, I've seen many people fight over a burger in my day, but this one really takes the burger. Then there were moments like when Goku squared off against the third Demon Realm army that you could tell we were in for something really special. And don't even get me started on that first Tamagami fight. It's incredibly creative and flashy. Something especially cool about the animation, though, is the people behind it. I think it's important to try and highlight some of the creatives who poured their blood, sweat, and tears into these shows because they usually don't get the recognition they deserve. The cool thing is, though, that a lot of the animators for this series happen to be fans who grew up with this series from all over the world. You can see the passion lovingly poured into every frame, finally being able to work on the show they grew up with and are now a part of. Incidentally, this appears to be a byproduct of Super's notoriously rushed production, which made Toei turn over a new leaf. It's likely part of the reason why Super Broly looks as gorgeous as it does too, but that's aside the point. There are a ton of names attached and too many great scenes to name, so I'd highly suggest checking out Anime AJ's animation breakdown videos to get a genuine appreciation of the magic at play here. I've got to note that my allergies are killing me, and if I don't do this recording now, it's never gonna happen, so I'm sorry. Since I'm on the topic of magic, I feel like now is a good time to just lean into the spoilers because I want to talk about the ending. But first...
Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. Today, we're going to be doing an hour-long breakdown of Dragon Ball Evolution. Alright, here we go. So this is Son Goku. He is my favorite character in the movie. In this scene, you can see him training with his master Roshi, who is an elder man, but is a fantastic martial artist. He is very good at teaching him, especially when he drives his head through a watermelon. By the way, if you're enjoying the video, maybe you should consider, I don't know,
becoming a YouTube member.
There, you can find things like early previews, exclusive content, exclusive polls, early releases, video credits, and I think that's about it. But yeah, getting back into here, this scene actually features Piccolo in a giant evil Hindenburg. I don't really understand the metaphor behind this one, but I think we can break it down a bit more. Let me just go ahead and just...
Anyway. So I hope I've convinced you to go and watch this series because I'll need you to come back after you have so we can giggle over this together. Or if you want to be a goober, you can skip to this time code for my final thoughts. Alright, so for the remaining cool people still here, let's talk about the good stuff. I've talked about it before, but I feel only Dragon Ball can deliver this specific quality, this charm, the feeling of being awestruck. Think moments like the awakening of the Super Saiyan, Gohan's transformation into Super Saiyan 2, or Goku going Ultra Instinct. It's these incredible moments that I look for that I can only best describe as Dragon Ball magic. So the question for me all along wasn't necessarily if Daima was good, but could it replicate that magic? And man, not only did it deliver on that front, but it did it so well that waiting week to week was an active challenge. I haven't had the feeling of impatiently anticipating a new episode this badly since the Universal Survival arc in Super. I just love these moments like Goku's fight against Tamagami 3, Vegeta going Ultra Vegeta 1, and then there's the big one. For as good of a show as this already was, the momentum kicks up heavily in the final third when we get to the first Demon Realm, which really goes into maximum overdrive. Let me tell you that when Toei showed me the trailer for Daima, the last thing I was expecting was a war arc. Ironically, when the Z-Warriors arrive in the first Demon Realm, they hand over the keys to Goma's kingdom. Leave it to the comic relief character to practically doom everybody. I can't be too mad at him though. I mean, it is a nice hat.
You like to have fun too?
I mean, you know, you're asking about me? I mean, yeah, I like fun, yeah. You know.
Oh, yeah?
I already said yes.
It was interesting to see how this whole thing with the Tertian Oculus would play out because they allude to it as this incredible tool that grants its wearer the strength to take over the entire demon realm. But considering we've had the rug pulled out from under us as often as we had, I expected it would amount to very little. Boy, how wrong was I. This show is so smart that it uses its own counter expectation that it built up to defy your current expectations. I'm not even sure that sentence makes any sense, but it's true, damn it. In a scene where Goma repeatedly gets an eyeball smashed into his forehead like it was some fucking Looney Tunes bit, this little shit becomes... well, he kind of looks like a fuck-ass Pride Trooper. It's incredible how they managed to turn him into the hokiest of hokey characters and turn him into an absolute menace that forces all the Z-Warriors to fight together, which, as you may know, is a very uncommon sight in Dragon Ball. Even with their combined powers, including Super Saiyan 3 Goku and Vegeta, and even a Super Saiyan Do, Goma completely overwhelms them and it looks like all hope is lost. That is until Daima finds that magic and pulls out another card I don't think anybody expected. If you ask me, I thought we'd be getting a Vegito fusion to clean up the Goma mess. But Toei thought that'd be too easy. Instead, they decided they would have Neva give Goku that little extra boost to elevate him to even greater heights. Damn it, I would be lying to you if I didn't say that seeing Super Saiyan 4 again didn't leave me hyped beyond belief. This is one of those moments that left me staring off slack-jawed and empty-eyed at my TV screen. A transformation I thought Toei was ready to leave in the past was brought back and reinvented in a way that just feels so right. Adding on the little details like how Goku runs on all fours and utilizes his tail shows that this wasn't just a bump of nostalgia. This was Toei trying to reinvent an idea that fans already loved and just making it hit different. The crazy thing is that while this new transformation overpowers Goma, it's not enough to take him down for good. So, in what feels like another nod to GT, the Demon Realm's Eternal Dragon is summoned, and he pretty much just looks like Black Star Purunga. I love how Goma bum rushes him to try and stop the wish just to get swatted away like a fly. This show's sense of comedic timing is impeccable. But at this moment, one big decision has to be made that will change the course of this battle, and it's all up to Glorio. I touched on Glorio before in the spoiler-free section, but now would be a great time to talk about him in more detail. When we first meet Glorio, we have no idea what he's about or why he's helping. What we do know is that he's been hiding a clear ulterior motive from Goku and Co. So we get to see these little moments when he reports back to somebody else, or when these little cracks in his story start to appear. It turns out that this is all because he is a part of Dr. Urinsu's ploy. Glorio is essentially a spy for Dr. Urinsu, whom she appoints to assist the Z-Warriors so that they can collect the Dragon Balls and have her wish granted of becoming the supreme ruler of the Demon Realm. This whole time, his goal was never to save the Demon Realm from Goma. It was to usurp him and give that title to somebody who could become a bigger threat than he ever could. However, in his time with Goku and the Supreme Kai, he starts to realize something. These people, whom he looked at as tools for his master's endgame, began to grow on him. They might have been there to collect the Dragon Balls, but they showcased the strength and compassion needed to change this dystopia into a place worth calling home. With that, we saw Glorio's inner turmoil grow. Silent and stoic as he may be, he couldn't help but show these little hints of doubt, wondering if he was really doing the right thing. And that brings us back to this moment where Goku and his friends are on the verge of defeat. Yet Arinsu demands him to do her bidding and make the wish for her. With his heart torn between his allegiance to this person who saved him and the people who gave him hope for a better world, he makes his choice. Suddenly, those affected by Goma's wish started returning to normal. They had regained their former selves and were ready to strike back against Goma one last time. As Vegeta powers up and squares off against the tyrant again, a different battle of sorts plays out beneath. Glorio finds Arinsu, asking for forgiveness, only to be met with a cold distaste. He recognizes that he just let her down, that after all she's done, this is the gratitude she gets back. He can only express his appreciation for everything she's done as he runs off to meet with the others. You can see him struggling to approach them, not even able to look at them now that they know he was never really on their side. However, instead of being met with disgust or a feeling of betrayal, he is met by people excited to see him, thankful that he chose to help them. Even Goku, who has a running gag of getting Glorio's name wrong, for the first time in the entire series correctly says his name.
Nice that, Glorio.
It's the dumbest thing, but I'd be lying if I didn't say that that simple moment nearly brought me to tears. And that is Dragon Ball magic right there. But you already know it isn't Dragon Ball without one more big climactic fight. Well, that is right after maybe the best gag in the show. Big Vegeta thinks he can take on Goma by himself, but his pride won't let him switch out when he is getting absolutely annihilated. Ready to die before changing places with Goku, the only thing that can take him out is Bulma. Not because she asked him to or because Goma hurt her, but because Bulma screams from the top of her lungs that if he doesn't stop fighting, she will never take a bath with him again. God, I love this show. Until now, the animation has been stunning. But this adult Super Saiyan 4 Goku vs. Goma fight is pure eye candy. Dramatic and punchy don't even begin to describe it. It has undoubtedly made it into my favorite Dragon Ball fights, and it is high up there too. And in rewatching it, I forgot about that moment when Goku literally rips Goma a new one and leaves him with a massive gaping hole in the middle of his chest. I remember being completely taken aback by that since the show had been very tame and lighthearted up to this point. But even that isn't enough to take Goma down, as he begins to regenerate and Goku runs out of stamina. In one last surprise though, Goma gets the third eye beaten out of him by none other than Majin Buu. The character that was literally made to be a gag and constantly be rated as a near useless fighter is the hero who saves the day. Frankly, that just rocks. And if you thought that would be his only accolade, then you are absolutely wrong. Because he defeated the current supreme ruler, it turns out that made him next in line for the throne. I love this ending where he takes all these characters we've come to meet from the Demon Realm and appoints them as his ministers. It wraps a nice little bow on everything as the series ends and the Z Warriors return to their home, leaving behind a place with newly found hope. I've got to say, I had a pretty good feeling about Daima ever since it was announced, but what we got far exceeded my expectations. I've already talked about many things that work for this series, but there's one fundamental thing that completely shifts this from being just good into something great. At its very core, you can feel a genuine heart, a soul here, that not only feels true to Dragon Ball, but also to the spirit that Toriyama envisioned for Dragon Ball in the first place. When watching this, you can tell that this isn't a product made of stress, the need to fill in a time slot, or simple monetary gain. For the first time in a long time, this feels like a product of love for the property and everything it stands for. It's a celebration of the series we know and love while elevating it and taking it in a fun and unique direction. And that meant I was always excited to see what the next episode had in store for us. Is it perfect? No, certainly not. I would have loved to see more refined character arcs for people like Pansy, and main characters like Goku and Vegeta don't have any major developments either. However, that doesn't mean that seeing them interact with this new world and its characters wasn't a joy. Besides, we've already had 2 different series with a central focus on Goku and Vegeta. It was nice to see characters like the Supreme Kai and Piccolo get a bit more of the spotlight, and etch in that much more to the lore of the Dragon Ball world. Overall, I can comfortably say that if you haven't gotten around to seeing Daima yet, it is more than worth your time. At only 20 episodes, it's not only a breeze to watch, but something that I actively looked forward to every Friday after work. Simply put, Dragon Ball Daima is fun. It has almost everything I could want out of a Dragon Ball series, and I'm so glad we have it. It's still unreal that Toriyama is no longer with us. He was reportedly heavily involved in the making of this series, and it shows. Daima is oozing with that classic Toriyama charm that just puts a smile on your face and lets you forget about everything else and invests you in its world for 23 minutes at a time. And I'm not gonna lie, the moment this show was over, I already found myself missing it. As I've said before, there's just this magic that only Dragon Ball can deliver that I find myself longing for when it's gone. And I know it's something that the fan base longs for too. So if I still haven't convinced you to check out this show, my last attempt will be with that. If you love the world of Dragon Ball and everything it brings with it, this is your way of coming back into that world. Your way of re-experiencing the amazing fights, the emotional highs, the characters we've come to know and love, and genuinely reliving that magic for one more time.